Every story needs a great villain, someone who challenges the hero and keeps us on the edge of our seats. Villains come in many shapes and forms, from the cunning and manipulative to the ruthless and destructive. But what happens when a villain is just too powerful, too overwhelming, that their mere presence threatens to unbalance the entire narrative? These are the villains that stand apart. They are not just a threat to the hero, they are a threat to the very story itself. They bend the rules of their worlds, turning the laws of physics, logic, and even time on their heads. Their abilities are so extreme, their powers so unmatched, that it almost feels like they've stepped out of the realm of fiction and into something else entirely. They seem to break the very fabric of the story itself. These are the villains that push the boundaries of what it means to be a threat. Their very existence makes us question if they could be included in canon or not. These are the villains who are too powerful to be canon. Novel Cars and New Over Heaven are the highest caliber of fighters when it comes to JoJo. Through spin-offs and official fan-fiction works released to the public, we've had an idea of just how wacky and stupidly insane the JoJo power system can get, and I don't think there are better examples of this than these two characters. We've gone from stopping time for 5 seconds and super strength to having infinite stance in their Requiem evolution. Is it stupid? Yes, but who cares? It's cool. It doesn't get much wilder than this. Or does it? Let's find out by pitting each of these titans up against one another. Before we begin, just one little thing: subscribe to the channel right now. Novel Cars is the most busted character in all of JoJo. His most valuable asset is his power to understand, copy, and improve upon an ability, not to mention the stance he has on him. Made in Heaven Ultimate Requiem, D4C Ultimate, The World Ultimate, and so on. Novel Cars is actually extremely overpowered. He has the most stands in the franchise, wielding amped versions of some of the strongest stands out there: The World, Made in Heaven, D4C, Killer Queen, and more. And among them, there's Whitesnake Ultimate. Akin to its base form, Whitesnake Ultimate now dons 3 heads with 3 different faces. Its prime ability is creating discs, one disc being composed of memories, while the other is composed of the stand. Cars is capable of inserting himself with various discs or memories without penalty. Cars is also capable of creating more than likely an infinite amount of blank discs that, when shoved into someone, will attempt to register it as a stand, thus causing their body to break down and be destroyed. This was demonstrated on Dio when he was completely immortal and was killed by this ability. Dashbolt Ultimate, a stand that originally belonged to an Arantia that Cars stole. Its powers are size reduction and increasing its size. It also possesses intangibility similar to that of Diver Down, in which the submarines can shrink down to very small sizes, and even can dive through small particles of blood. Cars also has used this ability to fight Dio, making submarines that were almost as big as skyscrapers, with the damage to back them up, and there is great power behind the missiles it fires. Dune Ultimate. The stand that belonged to Sandman is capable of turning 98% of Cars' body into sand, thus rendering him nigh impervious to damage, and also is capable of creating pillars, which he can trap people in, and it uses sand from the environment to attack others also. The World Ultimate is capable of stopping time for at least 1 hour, but in Cars' possession it may be infinite. According to George, Dio was a time-traveling vampire. With that, it is more than likely that the World Ultimate is capable of time travel. Simon Ultimate hasn't changed much ability-wise, except it is now able to focus gravity on a singular area, thus how it brought Dio and Pucci outside the walls of Great Britain. It should be noted that it can still affect a large radius, just like its base counterpart. Killer Queen Ultimate. While not getting called Ultimate Killer Queen is much different, Cars can now activate Bites the Dust whenever he pleases. When asked by George how he'd get back to 37 universes ago, and noting that Killer Queen can only go back 1 hour, Cars said time was not a problem for him and proceeded to grab Kira and reverse time to the base universe. After being blown up once, the target will continue to explode, but the time will not rewind and only will start if someone else activates Bites the Dust. It It had its other abilities such as bone transmutation. Cars also persuaded Killer Queen to leave Kira, but not before ripping Killer Queen right out of him. D4C retains its abilities of dimensional travel, but when D4C Ultimate Requiem travels, it is actually creating other universes. These universes are fake and have no real effect on the base universe. Cars is also resistant to the Manger Sponge effect, meaning he cannot be paradoxed, being able to bring other versions of himself from different universes, unlike Funny Valentine, who could simply bring copies who did not have stands. Cars is able to bring infinite copies of himself, and they all retain their stands, just like him. Made in Heaven Ultimate speeds up time to infinity and creates a brand new universe, and the changes are rather drastic, such as all of the continents forming together to form one whole continent. Another one of its abilities is the conceptual understanding. In basic terms, if Cars finds himself facing a concept or ability he doesn't understand, the smallest exposure or even explaining of the ability will cause him to understand it without fail, and even allows him to take said ability or concept and use it far beyond the capabilities of the source or concept. Ultimate Life Form. Upon using the Stone Mask, Cars changes drastically in a sense that it becomes an absolutely powerful entity capable of storing the DNA of every single living creature known to man, and also able to grow wings and fly and various other things. Cars is able to heal others no matter how bad the damage is. He healed George after he exploded into pieces, saying that as long as the soul was still intact, he could heal him. Note, he did this instantly. If one tried to take his stand away from Cars and tries to use it as their own, they will be destroyed, as Cars is the only one who may use the stance he created. Despite Dio having the passion, Cars is a good guy and sees the worth in humanity. It should be noted that Dio killed Giordano while Good Experience Requiem was active, and Cars was able to kill Dio, so it is possible that Cars is a casual in nature. Cars states that if he were to be erased from existence, he'd simply find his way back. He stated that strands of hair being sent through to several other dimensions via Funny Valentine he was able to react to and attack even in stop time. He made several human heads appear from an untraceable drop of blood on Kira's chin. These heads can be interpreted as souls, and such. Cars is able to create and take souls even without the use of Whitesnake, and beyond killing the ultimate creature Immortal Dio. He can also use the light mode to create explosions. Despite having just learned about stands, Cars tells George that Made in Heaven was always his stand, despite seeing the stand right then and there. When Cars takes an ability, he simply says, "I understand your ability now." The Pillar Man was able to turn the moon itself into a living creature, and also held a third moon like a balloon, and ran around the original moon for 10 quadrillion years, and the tendrils on the moon extended to 100 kilometers. Another one of his feats is that he hit Morio so hard that he flipped it, and Great Britain as well. In one of his exploits, he takes over Killer Queen, which can time travel now, way beyond an hour into the past. He causes explosions to run time backwards until it's back to only one time the universe has repeated, which is the Steel Ball Run world. That's how George and Jonathan end up in the Steel Ball Run universe. Heaven Ascension Dio is the main antagonist of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Eyes of Heaven. In an alternate timeline, outside of the Canon series, he was successful in killing the Joestars. He then proceeds with his plan of achieving heaven and unlocks godly powers. With his new stand, the world over heaven, he begins to create anomalies all over previous and future timelines. His plan is to conquer the Joestars over at every possible universe and create a truly ideal world of his own. On a practical scale, Dio over Heaven surpasses all JoJo characters by the end of Eyes of Heaven. His ability to stop time indefinitely and heighten speed suggests either a maintained speed level, aka massively hypersonic to relativistic, or potentially infinite speed. In terms of attack potency, Dio over Heaven demonstrated the capacity to destroy Tusk Act 4. Countering the infinite rotation implies that Dio's attack potency reaches a reasonable level of universal to complex universal, depending on certain considerations. Dio's evolved stand, the world over heaven, possesses the ability to override reality itself and indefinitely stop time, a significant enhancement from the mere 9 seconds that the world could manage. Dio can ensnare his opponents within the halted time for an extended duration at his disposal. discretion. The reality override feature grants him godlike power, enabling the rewriting of anything across timelines. The world over heaven retains the original superhuman strength, speed, and precision of the world, but with enhancements. Under reality override, this stand gains a new godlike ability to rewrite reality limitlessly. Dio can use this power to reshape existence, absorb souls, utilize them as slaves, and nullify almost any defense, as demonstrated against Tusk Act 4 and Gold Experience Requiem. However, a notable drawback emerges. The initiation of this power requires the world over heaven's fists, necessitating a physical punch to enact the rewriting. Infinite Time Stop, a significant advancement, allows the world over heaven to freeze time indefinitely, eliminating the previous limitation of the maximum 9 seconds time associated with the world. First point, Heaven Ascension Dio, or the world over heaven, has a range limited to his fists. Cars has all his stats. Dio has absorbed 36 souls and a holy corpse, so a normal state of mind, Dio, while cocky and arrogant, actually takes real threats seriously since he took out actual threats, such as Jotaro and Johnny, though he has a special vendetta against the Joestar, and even more so towards Jotaro's sub-branch of the family. I'm not sure about Cars though. They know each other to be a threat, so let's analyze this. Do note that even in a speed-equalized match, beings with infinite speed such as Dio's stand still have the perks of moving in stop or non-existent time. It becomes really difficult to determine who's gonna come out the winner, because in terms of raw power, both are reality warpers. What changes is the way Cars and Dio go about doing it. The thing is, the moment Cars sees Dio's stand, boom, he now has the world over heaven, which would be an even stronger version of the stand. Dio can override him at that point, since Cars would have long since adapted to anything Dio can do. It's important to remember that despite knowing that the other is a threat, they have no prior knowledge of each other, but Cars doesn't know what Dio's stand's abilities are. Nothing stops Dio from erasing Cars right off the bat. However, as I previously mentioned, Cars can survive a universe being completely reset. The only way I can see someone winning this fight is as if one of them has the Beyond. And what is the Beyond, you ask? Well, Beyond is literally plot armor in skill form. Beyond allows the user to manipulate the novel script in his favor, as long as he believes in Beyond. And in the novel George Joestar, Dio, who has this ability, believes in it so much that he was able to overcome George Joestar's Beyond, who would be the protagonist of the novel, that is. Dio's plot armor is so strong that it nullified the protagonist's own plot armor, in which case, one can decide that the opponent didn't have reality warping abilities, because the wielder of Beyond dictates what's real or not. But as it stands right now, this ends in a tie. I know this is anticlimactic, but there's nothing I can do about it. Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. That being said, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.